I want to pick your brain though a little bit about this idea about buying buildings, right? So we're in, sort of an interesting economic time right now. Do you still think we should be buying buildings?
I do. I think everybody thinks we should buy buildings, in the most expensive real estate. I think one thing I could really help all you young people with is something that I really have learned. I became successful because I got into Spanish language television as employee one of what was a little rinky-dinky station that eventually, many years later, became Telemundo. And I was an on-air talent at CBS, and I was offered this rinky-dinky job, but by two very successful men. And I left the ego job to go with a founder, in today's speak, to a startup founder. And when you're in an emerging business, you can't help but succeed, right? If you're in an emerging business, so I want you all to think about that. Real estate is very similar, right? So maybe I wouldn't go buy in LA right now where I am, right? Or now I'm moving here. I keep forgetting. I have like a split life. But I think it's really good for everybody that's young to Google emerging cities, emerging businesses, emerging markets, because you won't believe the stuff that comes out. I think that I lucked out because I was in a business that hit big a few years after I got into it. And so I was able to make a lot more money. Like today, many of you may want to go into television and you go, but there's so many channels. Well, when there's so many channels, everybody makes less money in television and nobody owns anything. So television is actually not an emerging business anymore, but digital marketing is. So as a young person, if you're in digital marketing, you're in a very emerging business. So I want you all to think about that. And in investing, the same thing is true. If you're going to invest, why don't you look at what are the cities in America that in 20 years are going to be huge? Maybe not oceanfront cities, maybe more the middle of the country. Right now, I'm looking at Bentonville, Arkansas, my favorite city in America. So why? Because the center of the country might be, with all that's going on with climate change, might be more fabulous, right? And real estate usually has you make money over 20 years, usually. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower. So you have to think like that. And I don't know if we teach that, maybe we do an economics class, but emerging businesses, emerging markets is something, and emerging cities. Where are the hot cities 20 years from now? My son and I talk about this a lot because we talk about the macro of your life and the micro of your life. And we get very hung up on the micro. What do I have to do today? And even, I just told you, I do 3 things a day. But you always also have to step away. And that's why I'm so glad I went back to school. And I took 4 years off and I did a 6-year program, 4 years year round. Because I got to step away from my TV life and think about the psychology of things. Something that was totally opposite of everything that I was doing, that was tactical. And think about what's going on in the world. And thinking 10 years ahead. And thinking 20 years ahead. Obviously, we should all, what did we learn from the pandemic? Healthcare is the hottest business in the country. Anything to do with the elderly, the baby boomers, who are the richest group of people in the country and have the most money to spend and not enough to spend it on. Housing for the elderly, projects for the elderly. So, some of them are common sense things, and some of them are things that are being invented as we speak, that we have to keep our nose to the grindstone to find out what's the next thing that's coming.